a little closer?
It's all right. Hi, I'm Darlene Carman.
And I'm Doug Carman.
I love to watch the animal segments on late night talk shows, but they just seem so rushed to me. The bird comes in or the animal comes in and they just get comfortable, and then before you know it, out they go and in comes another. Well, on our show, we really like to hang out, or in our case, we might perch out with our guest. So we have a volunteer from Mickaboo, Companion Bird Rescue. And so let's welcome Matt Linton and his friend Socrates. That's a beautiful cockatoo. And this is his first time on TV?
This is his first time on TV. He's doing a remarkable job.
Well, now you've had Socrates for 11 years now, so do you know anything about his history?
I don't know a lot about his history. Most of his history is with me. He was a young bird when I got him. Socrates was a Craigslist rescue, so I found him on Craigslist being rehomed when he was a young bird. It's actually not uncommon for cockatoos to get rehomed when they're pretty young because people get them new from a breeder and don't realize what a handful they can be.
What type of cockatoo is this? Because he's doing this thing with his...
Sock is an umbrella cockatoo.
Umbrella.
They're the second largest cockatoos and the second loudest cockatoos. They hail from Indonesia for the umbrellas. And he's just a sweet little gentle bird. They call, the nickname for cockatoos is Velcro birds because they are among the few parrots that are really comfortable being petted like I'm doing now.
Oh, really?
He likes to be scratched on the underside of his wings. And cockatoos are, if you want a bird that likes to be handled, cockatoos are a very good bird for that. But you do have to be aware that they like to be handled all the time, all day, every day, and they are very attention demanding.
That's kind of like what I like with my feet, you know? Oh, he's laughing.
Yeah. He's got a good sense of humor.
How easy did Socrates adapt? And did you have any problems when you first got him?
So Socrates adapted very easily, but when I first got Socrates, like I said, I didn't...
He was young.
He was young, and I didn't know about Mickaboo yet when I got him. I got him off Craigslist. I was not a particularly bird-educated person when I got him. I had wanted parrots as a kid, and then I got a parrot. And basically, right when I got him, I suddenly realized I know so little and he needs so much. I started Googling around to see information about parrots, and I landed on a site called mytoos.com, which scared the pants off me.
Really?
With the horror stories of what happens when people are uneducated, get a cockatoo, and then a few years later the cockatoos ripped all their chest feathers out from depression and neuroses and not being taken care of. That site got me to go find an avian vet, at least as a first step to get him well taken care of. And at the vet's office, I met a volunteer from Mickaboo who told me, though, there's a bird rescue and a community and that they would help me learn about birds and things. And so he and I were both pretty fortunate to be introduced to them.
Absolutely. Well, not only did you adopt a bird, but you became a volunteer because you noticed that there was something lacking that you could fix and help the operation. So what did you do?
There was. Mickaboo's an entirely volunteer organization. There are no paid staff and no shelter. And everything they do is online via web forums and things like that. I started with Mickaboo just kind of as a part of the community learning about birds. And then it became apparent pretty quickly that a lot of the bird rescuers have all of their hearts into bird rescue and maybe not technological geniuses. And so as a techie myself, I saw that they had a lot of needs to resolve with technology that could help them, focus more on the bird rescue and less on fighting with their computers.
So you designed the website?
I got in and I did their website, and then I built them a database to keep track of the birds and where the birds are. And then I built them a new kind of forum to help further that. And then we added in things like automatically tracking a bird from place to place. And so it started to take a lot less time for the coordinators to throw a bunch of effort into just trying to follow the birds from place to place and keep track of them. And
There's no tattoos or earrings put on. No.
Nope.
So it's just a number system, or
each bird, we put them into the database. They get a number, and then we keep track in the database of who they're with at the moment. And then anytime they move from another foster home to an adoptive home, or from a foster home to another foster home, we track it all there.
So people, if they do adopt a bird, they can bring the bird back if they have to Mickaboo?
Mickaboo actually, we make a commitment to the bird when we bring a bird in. And the commitment to the bird is that we'll try our absolute hardest to make the adoptive home their forever home. But obviously, if that doesn't work out for some reason, the bird needs to come back to us. The contract actually says, bring the bird back to us and we will try again for the bird.
I understand that Mickaboo is not taking any more birds in right now. What is the needs they have, though? I'm sure they have other needs.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the 7 years that I've volunteered with Mickaboo, they've never turned away birds at the door wholesale before. Sometimes when they run out of foster homes, we have no shelter. We rely solely on foster homes. If you run out of foster homes that can take in African greys, for example, you can't take in African greys. But the last year, the economy has just been so terrible. A lot of people with large birds are losing their homes, and then the rental that they find has a no birds policy or a no pets policy, or they move into a hotel, and obviously you can't keep a bird that can scream at 130 decibels in a hotel.
So you need homes, but then you need volunteers, right?
Above all, we need volunteers in foster homes and
these
adoptive
volunteers take a class, so how does that go?
When you sign up to volunteer with Mickaboo as a foster family, you take a 3-hour bird education class, a basic bird care class, we call it. Okay. You take the class, you learn a lot about bird care. We also sign up to work with you if you still have questions and help make things work as well as possible. And then we do a home visit to make sure that the home is an appropriate environment for birds. We do all of the same steps that we would do if you were adopting the bird from us. And actually, we encourage people, if they're interested in birds and interested in having a bird and haven't had them before, we highly encourage them to sign up for us as a foster family first, because you don't know what you're getting into, especially with the big birds. And as a foster family, we work with you, you hold the bird in your house, they're a member of your family until they find an adoptive home. And if it so happens that that adoptive home is yours because you really like what you've gotten into, then we certainly are pleased with that.
Do you have any, talking about foster homes, we have a friend who takes in greyhounds, and he has a couple of his own, but he also acts as an intermediate before somebody adopts a greyhound. Would that be in other words, they take the dog in to socialize them, to go into a home environment before they turn it over to an adopted family?
That's a good question. One of the things that we do work very hard at with our foster homes and foster families is we have a couple of volunteers who are very skilled bird behaviorists, and they teach all of our volunteers what bird behaviors mean, how to deal with birds, and most of our foster homes end up rehabilitating birds that they bring in before the birds are adopted. Either they come in terrified of people because they were abused, or they come in not knowing how to socialize with people because they were neglected. And so we will work with them.
They were just stuck in a cage and forgotten about it. Just an ornament.
Right. And macaws, for example, are often used as ornaments. You'll find a macaw in a restaurant window, and that macaw doesn't socialize with people. And birds are very, very highly social creatures.
Yeah. Well, we have a conure, and so we're very interested in following that story with the wild parrots of Telegraph Hill. what we didn't know is we didn't know that Mickaboo was involved with that. So can you please go into that for us?
Sure. The wild conures in Telegraph Hill in
Yeah.
San Francisco. There's also a small flock in Sunnyvale of conures.
I heard about
They hang
them.
out by the Toys R Us.
Or nephew,
Yeah,
yes.
that's been there a while, yes.
We didn't necessarily set out to get involved with the wild conures because wild birds, if they're truly wild, not a domestic pet that has been released, but actual wild birds, the best place for them is in the wild with their flock. But at some point, people began bringing injured conures in San Francisco to us. The conures got famous, people got interested.
Yes.
And the conures are afflicted by a very interesting neurological disease. There is a kind of brain worm that is affecting the conure flock. And when they get this worm, they get damaged and they can no longer walk or fly. One of our volunteers, Jennifer Ehrlichman, was our conure coordinator at the time. And after a number of these birds came in, they're so heartbreaking to watch them struggle to walk, struggle to eat. And as a rule, Mickaboo doesn't euthanize birds, as that's the last resort for a bird that clearly has no hope at a happy life. Jennifer and her team managed to rehabilitate enough of the wild conures to show that they can get better and they can have a good life. So we began working with a research avian vet to study the disease instead. And we have...
Do you know how the disease developed or where it came from?
I'm not entirely sure myself, to be honest. There are some things as the IT guy that you wish you knew, but you don't get to learn a lot about. But on our website, we have the contact info, and we have some information about that. And
Must
the
be
wild
something
conures
to
in
do with
general.
their environment, something that's around there that,
Somehow
Yep,
causes a lot of damage to them.
that's
And
what-
so now we are sort of the flock's unofficial guardians, as it were.
So you mentioned to me that when you started a long time ago as a volunteer, Mickaboo took in like, say, 40, 50 birds, and now it's up to like 400.
Yeah.
So besides the economy, what other factors could be involved with that?
Personally, I think that the capacity for 450 birds to be homeless has been there every year that we're operating. I think that our capacity to take in birds is what has grown over the time. We've increased volunteers, we've increased fundraising, and we really stretch ourselves to the maximum possible capacity to bring birds in and help them. So as we got better at what we do, we got more efficient and we got more foster homes. And last year we took in about 450 and unfortunately only adopted out about 320. Which is why we've had to close our doors to new birds. We're completely full of
Do
our
you
foster
try to
homes.
give them to like places like Happy Hollow or any place, bird places like that?
We carefully think about any kind of partnerships like that. We consider all sorts of places. There are sanctuaries in other states like the Oasis that if we have a bird that goes through a couple years of therapy with us and is unsocializable, we will take them to a sanctuary where other unsocializable birds can live. But we really have to vet that they're going to treat the parrots right. And, not saying anything about Happy Hollow, but the people that do the vetting for Mickaboo, they want to make sure that the birds are going to be taken care of as well as possible. And then they're not going to end up kind of as a neglected zoo exhibit or something else like that.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that because when
I've seen
bird,
the Happy Hollow parrots and they're pretty happy.
Yeah, well, my bird was kind of like dumped, you might say, in my lap. And when I first got the bird, I didn't know what to do with it either. Conures, I mean, they can be like a 2-year-old that never grows up, bites and all kinds of behavior
Conures
problems.
kind of like a macaw that went through the wash. They have all the personality in a
I'd
smaller
say that's
bucket.
a good description. And so I actually did go places. What was that bird, Polly? Was that the TV star? I found Polly somewhere and talked to the people there. And I actually was looking for a place. And the bottom line was that they all convinced me that my bird was just a great bird to have, trained and